Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with random reviews from the Overflow room, where in Richard Strauss' next Clump, there are going to be about a dozen Richard Strauss clumps by the time we're done with Strauss. I just can't get over how much of this stuff I accumulated. It's terrifying. I mean, it really is. He was an enormously popular composer for recordings because his music is rich and glitzy and fun, and people knew it and did it, and he was German, and so people thought it meant something, but it really didn't. And like, wow, unreal. So here's the next Clump, and there it is, and let's just get right to it and get through it somehow. Well, this is one of these strange artiste répertoire French RCA two-for things. And you get Les Joyeux Équipés de Till Eulenspiegel. That's the merry pranks of Till Eulenspiegel, right? And gosh, who's doing this stuff? And the Rosenkavalier waltz sequences and Don Juan with the Bamberg Symphony and Eugen Joachim. Now, Joachim, as I've said before, wasn't much of a Strauss guy. He did the Rosenkavalier stuff before for Phillips with the Concertgebouw, which is probably a little better than this one. But they're good. I mean, they're good, solid performances. And then you get Death and Transfiguration with RCA Victor Symphony and Reiner. That was sort of an odd man out in Reiner's Strauss discography because he didn't do it in Chicago. So that's good to have. And then we've got Zarathustra and Heldenleben with Reiner in Chicago, the classic, Reiner Chicago performances of those. So those go up there, and let's see if we can get them to stand up. Oh, they're standing up. We're in business. Let's see. Death and Transfiguration and Zarathustra with Sinopoly in New York. I get these because Sinopoly was just the acme of fin de siècle decadence when it comes to this stuff. The performances are slow and heavy and rich and suffused with Weltschmerz and Weltangst and Schadenfreude and all those long German words, Death and Transfiguration is 28 minutes long. I mean, usually it's like 24, 25, but it's so yummy. I mean, it's an experience. These are the Japanese Deutsche Grammophons, see, like the Japanese stuff. We need to get a serious Sinopoly box of like everything he did except like Mahler and Bruckner, which was not very special for the most part. But all of that decadent gooey thing stuff, Scriabin and all that was so much fun. It really was. Respighi, he did that stuff very well. Then we've got, this is different. So we've got this UNESCO Classics. Yeah, okay, licensed from EMI. You've got Don Juan and Till Eulenspiegel with Vienna Phil and Previn, and Zarathustra with Philly and Ormandy. I got this because, if memory serves, this is Ormandy's last Zarathustra, the EMI early digital one that had just weird, strange sounds. And I was wondering if it got any better, and it was a little better than it used to be. This is like printed 1980. So this was all 1980. It was the end of Ormandy. With his last Zarathustra. His best one was probably the middle one, the RCA one, which was multi-mic'd beyond belief, but still sounding fabulous with an amazing bell, the climax. Maybe we'll get to that one. I don't know. I have it either here or upstairs. I have like the RCA Ormandy Japanese edition. It's in that. Anyway, so there it is. I mean, and the Previn stuff, he did it for Telarc better. Better sound and more alert performances. They really are. Previn did a lot of Richard Strauss. He really did. It sort of surprised me. Bruno Walter, Strauss's Don Juan and Death and Transfiguration. This you keep for the Barber First Symphony it's coupled with, and one Dvorak's Symphonic Dance. These are good performances. They're very good performances. Swift and exciting. I mean, Death and Transfiguration is 21 minutes as opposed to Sinopoly's 28, which tells you a lot, right? About authentic performance practice. Yeah. But that's a classic, a Walter classic, and he wasn't doing much Strauss. This is the Karajan one that has Also Sprach Zarathustra, the one with like no organ, or barely an organ, because there wasn't one in Vienna when they recorded this. And then Till Eulenspiegel and Dance of the Seven Veils on Decca and Don Juan with the Vienna Phil. And it's typical Karajan. He remade all this stuff 100 times. And he'd done some of this before, I think in his mono days with the Philharmonia. He was always a very good Strauss conductor, and he always sounded exactly the same, other than the orchestra and the engineering. The performances were no different, so that doesn't matter. Strauss Horn Concertos, Hindemith Horn Concerto, and Concert Music Opus 50 with Hindemith conducting, and Sawallisch in the Strauss with Dennis Brain, one of the great horn recital records ever that everyone needs to hang on to. And then we've got Astrid Varnay doing Salome with Hermann Weigert. This is one of those live things. This is the Bavarian Radio from 1953 with Astrid Varnay, Julius Patzek, Margareta Klose, Hans Braun, Hans Hopfer, and all those people. And it's kind of cool. I love the look there. Oh my goodness. Oh yeah, heavy duty Salome, isn't she? And that's for Astrid Varnay fans, of whom I was one, and still am, really. I think she was a wonderful singer in her day. So that was great to hear. Oh, this is bizarre. Don Quixote and the Schoenberg Cello Concerto with Yo-Yo Ma and the Boston Symphony and Seiji Ozawa. The Don Quixote is okay, it's good, but the Schoenberg is the kick, because that is a weird, strange, bizarre, unusual. It's a reworking of a concerto by Mann, I think is the guy. Yes, Georg Mann. It's a Baroque thing, and he redid it as a modern cello concerto in the most grotesque way. I love the piece. I just love it. It's wonderful. Then we've got Strauss Ein Heldenleben with the Schubert Second Symphony with Bavarian Radio and Karl Böhm, which is from '73. I have this because Böhm's DG recording of Heldenleben, I think it's mono, if I'm not mistaken. It's not that great. This is better. So if you want to hear Böhm do it. It's funny, and we'll get to this about Böhm, but for all of his mastery and support of Strauss's operatic output, he was not terribly interesting in the symphonic poems, in the orchestral stuff. He could be quite stodgy. So, he's much better for the operas. Then we've got another Heldenleben. But here's the Leinsdorf Frau Neuschattel interludes, which is really a wonderful 20-minute long arrangement that's so much better than Strauss's own, because it contains some of the big moments, the exciting moments, whereas Strauss is like all the end of Act 1, where Barak is just snoozing along, and it's endless. And then Heldenleben with the Minnesota Orchestra and AGOE on reference recordings. You get this for the incredible sonics, and they are incredible, and the performance is very good too. Then we've got Don Juan, Four Last Songs, Death and Transfiguration with Debbie Voigt and Kurt Mazur in the New York Phil. And again, it's the Four Last Songs. You get it for the singer, for Deborah Voigt, to see what modern Strauss singers are doing, and she sounds lovely. The tone poems are quite good, and that's reason enough to keep it. What is this? Haitink Dutch Masters, Don Quixote with Tibor de Machula and Klaus Boon with the Concertgebouw Orchestra. Okay, so that's nice to have. Anything the Concertgebouw does is nice to have, especially in this period when they still had a very distinctive sound. And the Four Last Songs, that's what's fun, with Gundula Janowitz. This is the Holland Festival, 2 July, looks like the year was 1008. No, it can't be. It's 1968. Boy, is that hard to read. So this is Gundula Janowitz live, and of course she did them in the studio for Karajan, which is one of the most glorious things ever, featuring the human voice, and that's fun to have as an alternative view in real life, Let's see, Detroit Symphony and Dorati, Don Juan, Till Eulenspiegel's Zarathustra. We already talked about these performances. They're quite good. They're very well recorded, and that's all that needs to be said about them, right? See, so many of these are just good, and I kept them because they were just good, but, we could do better. Strauss, Salome with Böhm. Oh, okay, yeah. Yes, Salome is Leonie Rieseneck. Whoa! This is the Vienna State Opera live. And this is from, when is this from? Well, it was released in 1999, but the recording was 1972. Austrian radio, stereo, Böhm's studio Salome. Well, he did the video, first of all, with Teresa Stratas, which is wonderful. And then he did a studio recording with Gwyneth Jones, which is, she was in good voice then. It was not terrible. But this is Hans Hopf, Grace Hoffman, Leonie Rieseneck, Eberhard Vector, Waldemar Kment, Murray Dickey still around as the Erster Jude. All right. And Rohangiz Yachmi as the page. Fun stuff. Some of these historical Strauss operas are really, really smashing. And then we've got English, opera in English. Ariadne on Naxos, complete with Le Bourgeois Gentilhomme. You get the whole shebangy. Wow, that's a lot of stuff here. How many CDs is this? Just 2? It seems like it should be more. But yes, so you get that, opera and a prologue in one act, and then you've got Le Bourgeois Gentilhomme with Stephen Fry. Christine Brewer is the prima donna and Ariadne, and Robert Dean Smith is the tenor and Bacchus. Alice Coots, the composer. Alan Opie, the music master. John Graham Hall, dancing master. And everybody else. Oh, Zerbinetta, yes, of course, Gillian Keith. So there you go. The opera in English stuff. There's some wonderful performances in this series. I don't know if this is one of them. It's the Scottish Chamber Orchestra under Sir Richard Armstrong. It's well done. It's very well done. And it's fun to have this stuff. And, you know, it's in English. And as usual, you can't understand a word of it anyway. So who cares? But it's a keeper. I hang on to it because you get the Bourgeois Gentilhomme stuff, which is hard to come by, although it's been done a couple times now. And that, my friends, is the 6th clump of Strauss from the Overflow room. Keep on listening and take care.